Sculptor Paul Testosterone was very happy. He'd spent all year making a wonderful, detailed granite sculpture of Kim Jong-un, who was coming round in 10 minutes to see it for himself. As Paul stepped back from his beautifully ornate and detailed work, some dust went up his nose, causing him to sneeze violently and accidentally hammer a huge penis and balls on the face of the despot. Luckily, Kim Jong-un saw the funny side and exterminated Paul by firing a Scud missile up his arsehole.
Semi-retired gay couple, Alonzo and Fergus Tennerlady, have had enough of city life and decide to start afresh in the country. They decide they want to live the good life in a bungalow on the River Wye with breathtaking views of the Brecon Beacons, but accidentally offend their estate agent with an ill-timed joke about a gypsy optometrist and end up living the bad life in a burnt-out rumbelows on the River Shite with horrible views of an abattoir run and owned by Queen bass guitarist John Deacon.
Long-distance lorry driver Mornington Snuff Movie was exhausted. He'd been driving all night and had pulled into a lay-by for a thermos of tea and a nap. Just as he rested his head down, there was a...
as he rests his head down.
There was a tap at the window, and as he drew back the curtains and looked out, he saw a frog who spoke to him.
Oh.
Hello, my name is Hoppy Jones, and I need your help. If you help me, you will be rewarded by the frog people and given our many riches.
Frog people, yeah.
Mornington, obviously, asked what he could do to help, and Hoppy informed him. All he needed to do was make love to his mouth for a sustained period, and the frog kingdom would be saved. So he duly obliged, and at the moment of climax, the sky turned a beautiful bright purple, and Hoppy was transported back to the kingdom of frogs in the outer reaches of our galaxy. Sadly, his boss did not believe this story, and he was fired for being caught fucking a frog on the M25.
Sticks and stones may break me bones, but nails will never hurt me, says Malcolm Calcium, before losing his left foot after it's crushed by a falling pallet of hardback books about choosing baby names, prick. Seeking solace in a cinema to watch Call Me By Your Name, issues are compounded when he's blinded in one eye by a kernel of uncooked popcorn. The next week, while signing his name on a check for a half-price pair of swimming goggles in Sports Direct, Malcolm slips on a loose golf ball and then falls onto a ski pole signed by Eddie the Eagle, which goes right up his arse.
Performance artist Trago Foreskin was excited. He was excited about his latest installation, a beautiful construct of steel, paint and leather. He had a team coming to buy it who were deeply excited to purchase the piece and add it to their collection. The doorbell to his studio rang, and as he walked to open the door, the piece tragically collapsed and fell on top of him, killing him instantly. And the name of this installation? 27 bank robbers in a car!
Gourmet chef and home cook bore Aubrey Devon only knows why they make it so creamy Monroe Strathaven sets out to impress his foodie chums by throwing a dinner party, the centerpiece being the much fabled roasted bird within a bird within a bird within a bird.
Oh, yet, yum.
The very simple mistake of using imperial measurements instead of metric has disastrous results. Instead of serving a bird within a bird within a bird, he actually serves a third of Thora Herd's turds in a hearse. Fine.
Time traveller Winky Bumhole climbed out of his time machine and found himself face to face with a caveman.
Oh,
Careful not to affect the future by showing the primitive human too much technology, Winky instead showed him how to make a fire using flint, thinking he'd be safe. Seeing that the man was happy, Winky returned to his machine and arrived back in his own time period. But as he stepped out of the machine, his blood ran cold. For instead of human beings being the dominant species on the planet, the world was now ruled by sentient, horny gas canisters. Ah!
This is for the attention of John Rain, open on the 14th of May 2021. Arthur and Janet Jumanji, the novelization, Wilkinson, enter the postcode lottery and soon discover that they are, in fact, winners. Soon, someone comes, and this is in brackets to be sung, knocking at the door. Someone's ringing my bell. Mm-hmm. How do you know about that? He's passed away. Anyway, they are handed a large, oversized envelope to reveal a check with their winnings. But instead of finding a giant check for £30,000, they find something else entirely. 28 policemen in a van following 27 bank robbers in a car?
The postman, Nocturnal Felch, was having a normal day on his rounds when he encountered a house that he'd never seen before. Was it a new build? Where did it come from? The number of the house was 666, but it didn't correspond with any other houses around. He rang the bell, as it had a parcel. And the door opened. Inside it was quiet, and not a sound could be heard. His voice echoed, and bounced around the walls, like a stone down a well. Suddenly a man appeared at the top of the stairs and told him his name. "My name," said the man. "My name is..." The tension mounted as the words left his lips. 28 bank robbers in a car!
Serial cheater and womanizer Trevor Butticus Rah has been having affairs all of his married life. Working in airport security at Heathrow allows him to meet women from all over the world. Ha! She hasn't got a fucking clue, he boasts to his work colleague Ziggy. But little does Trevor know that he also does not have a clue also and. He finds out 1 week later when Ziggy is actually going off for a long weekend toad sexing in Lisbon. Ziggy, of course, like anyone else in the airport, has to walk through the security X-ray scanner. But suddenly the alarm sounds, and Trevor is horrified when he looks at the screen to see his wife's wedding ring up Ziggy's arm.
River policeman Danger Frog Song was having a normal day, patrolling the murky waters of the Thames and generally being vigilant for any signs of danger or trouble. However, his day was about to change when he saw the tragic sight of a body floating in the water. He pulled his boat alongside the sad corpse, and it was only when he pulled it aboard that he realized, to his immense horror, that the body was him from 15 minutes in the future, and he had the complete works of Leo Tolstoy shoved right up his arse. Oh.
Jesus nightclub is sending a very important parcel at the post office, but he puts too many spare stamps in his house on the box to save some money. But when he gets to the post office and weighs the parcel, he has to pay a little bit more money, so he puts the extra stamps on, but then the parcel is a little bit heavier, so he has to put extra stamps on, and then the parcel gets a little bit heavier, and he has to put more stamps on, and the parcel gets heavier again, and he has to put more stamps on, and Jesus is trapped forever in a never-ending loop of trying to post the parcel. And what was in the parcel? His arse!
Antiques expert Nigel Crywank Jones was excited.
Good.
It was the big auction tomorrow, and he'd recently taken possession of an antique wardrobe that used to belong to Ronnie Biggs. He decided that he would buff it up in order to make it look more valuable than it was, and upon entering the door he found something mysterious. Passage to another world, a world of ice, snow, and mysterious creatures. As he approached a lamppost, he was greeted by a fawn, who took him back to his house for tea. After a few cups, Nigel became drowsy and soon fell asleep. When he woke up, he was terrified to find what had happened. His trousers were gone, his wallet was empty, and he was being kicked in the arse by 28 bank robbers in a car!
Hobbyist and craft-mad stay-at-home mum, Raquel Membrane, decides to knit a full-size replica of her hero, Gus Van Sant, for a charity auction. However, raise a lot of money. However, she takes the knitting pattern instructions far too literally, faithfully knitting one and then dropping one, and eventually chokes to death on her own farts.
Bodybuilder Excalibur Cum Swapper was confident. He just competed, in Mr. Universe and was a shoo-in to win the trophy. However, backstage, something awful happened that would stay with him for the rest of his life. It turned out that all of his strength and all of his powers were derived from the actual devil, who lived right up his arsehole.
Full-time baker Alonzo Manimal makes a cake for his stepbrother's coming back in party. In the excitement, he forgets to take his epilepsy medication, and whilst delicately icing the top of the cake, has a massive seizure. But luckily, at that precise moment, there's also a massive earthquake, and the resulting 2 independent shakes actually cancel each other out, and he does a really good job. Oh, and his brother sticks the cake up his own.
Holiday makers, Mr. and Mrs. Clown Funeral, were having a lovely time on the beach in Magaluf. They stopped a beach vendor and were very interested in a piece of merchandise.
Merchandise.
An ancient monkey's paw. Ooh.
Oh, no, don't.
They took it back to their hotel room and laughed at its quaintness. However, in the morning, the laughs were all gone. When Mrs. Clown Funeral awoke to find that the monkey's hand was right up her dead husband's arsehole.
Penny pinching retired gardener Randy Paragraph is 72 years old and is deaf as a post, but has never bought a hearing aid. Waste of bloody money, he says to a lamppost, thinking it's his goddaughter Patsy. Yet, the owed miser who doesn't want to spend money will end up paying much more in court fees and damages after the local vicar employs him to do some light strimming on the verges, which Randy mishears and does some tight rimming on the verger.
Stuck-up hotelier Yahoo grave robbery was in for a busy day. He'd cleaned his executive business from top to bottom, and he'd polished every shiny surface. Today was the day that the King of Sweden was coming to stay, and as part of the royal visit, he would be there for a week. He was just giving the stairs a quick once-over with a hoover when he noticed something that would freeze his very blood to the core. He was dead.
Part-time window cleaner Frankie Tapas has been feeling under the weather for weeks, with a high temperature, bloated stomach, and an itching sensation when he needs to pee. He decides to not bother his doctor, and it'll probably just pass in a week or so. And pass it does. Because half an hour later, whilst up his ladder, he pisses out 2 kidney stones, followed by 4 liver pebbles, 200 grams of cock shingle, 1 heart boulder, and is forced to scream, "Look out below!" when he unleashes 100 tons of landslide out of his arse. Ole.
Vet Bonzo Tits was just getting ready to begin an operation on a Great Dane by the name of Fuckbeans Dave when he noticed something unusual about the hound. Upon looking in his right ear, he saw something that would freeze his very blood. In his ear, he could see right out of his own arsehole.
Sally Focaccia renews her broadband and mobile phone contracts, but is far too busy to check the small print, and wakes up the very next morning to find her hairstyle is no longer on her head, but is right next to her arsehole. Well, it turns out she should have read the perms and positions.
Monkey expert Jane Coconuts was concerned about her newest ape, Gonzo, and he was not joining in with the other apes and seemed to possess an overwhelming sense of malaise. So one day, while he was asleep up a tree, she examined him and found something that would shock the life out of her. He had the complete works of Leonard Cohen playing in a constant shuffle up his arsehole.
Insomnia sufferer Gavin Dracula tries counting sheep, but his mind wanders and he actually ends up counting sloths, which takes so long he actually falls into a coma and spends the rest of his life being looked after by a cheap, unscrupulous care home staff who often, for a laugh, pour mugs of red-hot Horlicks and or cocoa down his arsehole.
Oh no. Exorcist Bomber Dixon was just finishing up another exorcism, and while talking to the demon that was inside child star Tiny Tommy Timpson, he noticed something more sinister was at work. Yeah, he'd done exorcisms before, but this was no normal demon. This was something altogether more evil, more dark, and more sinister. Inside the tiny innocent child was 29 bank robbers in a car!
Dyslexic paranormal enthusiast decides to use a Ouija board to speak to the Count of Monte Cristo, but due to poor spelling ends up talking to some cunt called Jonty from Bristol. Okay.
Barber Himalaya Jones was on his first haircut of the day with a customer who wanted a short back and sides. Sadly, he was distracted by some porn he saw in his own mind and got distracted and cut his entire head into the shape of a pair of huge tits.
They say all roads lead to Rome, but tell that to keen Italian rambler Luigi Poison, who sets out on a stroll from the nearby village of Tivoli, but ends up lost and naked being buggered by bull mastiffs just outside Telford. Oy.
Teacher Clifford Huge Massive Balls was emotional.
Jesus Christ.
He was leaving St. Hanover's School for the last time after 50 years to enjoy retirement.
Sorry, start again.
Teacher Clifford Huge Massive Balls was emotional. He was leaving St. Hanover's School for the last time after 50 years to enjoy retirement, and he'd been given gifts by both former and current pupils. A painting of a classic car, a watch with engravings, a bottle of finest wine, and a mystery box wrapped in string and paper. When he returned home after an evening of dinner and drinks, he poured himself a wine and opened the box. What he found inside would change his life forever. It was his own battered and severed arsehole.
On a weekend spa retreat, Doreen Gass opts for the coffee enema, which is so strong, she actually does the full next 10 years worth of shits in one go, setting fire to a tired out house. Film fanatic Nicholas Bender accidentally sits on his remote control during the film Jumanji, while simultaneously sending an emoji, and wakes up in a parallel universe called Jamoji, where he's permanently dressed as an aubergine and being chased by a giant two-dimensional cartoon turd.
Burger van owner Madison just a little bit was having a quiet night, parked up outside a branch of Wickes. As she sliced the buns and restocked the fridge with cans of Lilt, she noticed someone approach. "Do you do hot dogs?" a man said. "Yes," said Madison. "I will have 3 of your finest hot dogs then. And my name? I am the devil." Just as he said that, 400 demons ran out of his arsehole and asked for extra onions.
Comic book and sci-fi geek Edward Smell saves up all his money to attend a cosplay event as his hero, the Green Lantern, but is very disappointed because he turns up at the wrong cosplay event because everyone else is dressed up as a lettuce.
Olympic sprinter Gregory Horseporn was celebrating. He'd just won the gold medal and was in his changing room drinking some energy drinks when he noticed something that would freeze his blood. It turned out that the entire world and life itself as a concept was all a simulation taking place up Dennis Waterman's arsehole.
Wellness fanatic Donna Hatt, 2 T's,
Of course.
books an enema treatment, but due to poor staff communications and a typo, doesn't have an enema, has Enya pumped up her arse instead. Every time she farts, she hears the middle 8 and may it be, and spends the rest of her life seeing doctors about her daily Orinoco flow.
Author James Disgusting Discharge was feeling pretty good about himself. He'd just heard via his agent that his first novel, This Is What the Devil Looks Like, was an international bestseller. In fact, top Hollywood mogul Dick Spunk was on the line with them on a conference call. Dick congratulated James, but uttered a strange incantation under his breath. Before James could understand what had just happened, a truck burst through the wall of his office and drove right up his arsehole.
On the same day that Peter Parker gets bitten by a radioactive spider, another member of his school called Paul Puddle gets bitten by a radioactive man and becomes the worst superhero of all fucking time. Man.
Photocopier repairman Horse Snotshot was just finishing for the day. His last job was in a normal, quiet office, and he had a photocopier with toner issues that needed to sort it out. Just as he fixed the problem, however, something eerie happened. A lone piece of paper worked its way through the machinery in the photocopier and fell onto the floor.
I know where this is going.
While this might not sound unusual to you, Horse knew very well that the photocopier was unplugged. He picked up the piece of paper, and what he saw would change his life forever. It was a picture of Cthulhu, and in a deep state of terror, he died of shock, just as his entire internal organs swam up his arsehole.
Oh no! Traffic warden Des Boot accidentally farts on a double yellow line and gets his arsehole clamped, his underpants towed away, and 3 points on his system.
Bank manager Bob Fingers and Tops was over the moon. His bank had recovered very well from the pandemic, and the safe was once again full of lovely hot wizard gold. However, When he was locking up for the night, he saw something that would freeze his blood to the very core. 30 bank robbers in a car.
Yeah.
But he was an undercover policeman, and they were all arrested and sent to jail for 40 years each. And the jail, well, it was up Johnny Ball's arse.